Got it.
It's Pasta Vazul, baby.
Come on in.
Well, hello, Screamers! Welcome to the Scream It Till You Like It podcast. I hope you're still screaming. I hope you're starting to like it. I am Return of the Clint Zombies. And with me, of course, is Mike. I'm going to change your name. Mike Man, the Hoofed Beast, a.k.a. Evil
Best
Mike.
name ever.
Yeah. With me, as always. And we are joined with a very special guest. We have one Mr. Steve Livengood, a.k.a. Reaper of Reaper's Underground. How you doing tonight, man?
I am doing fabulous. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. Didn't think it would happen so soon, but I'm jazzed.
Yeah, well, I mean, we haven't really been loading up our schedule with a lot of stuff, so we were like, hey, let's just do it now. So,
awesome. It's good to be on the other side for once.
Oh, yeah. Last week, got to talk to your other half, Kelsey, aka Mischief the Clown. It was always nice to have her. That was her second time talking to me, Mike's first time. But this is really cool because I've seen you all over the interwebs. Mostly doing Reaper's Underground, but I come to find out there's a lot more to you than just that.
I wear many hats.
Yeah,
for sure.
Are they are they all hats that you like to wear, or some of them begrudgingly?
I actually do. I do enjoy them. It's exhausting sometimes because my mode of thinking I have to change for certain things. I do 3 different podcast shows a week, not just my Reaper's Underground, but I do a program called Tracks of the Damned, and then which is just dedicated to metal. And then I do a third show that's called The Goddamn Program, which is a variety show where we get to be as crazy and talk about whatever we want to. We actually have a list of like 10 things that we go through that, just happened this week. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Well, and then, I've been a professional drummer for 32 years now, in metal, mostly death metal. These days I'm floating between doom metal and black metal. So.
Okay. Yeah. I kind of went down a rabbit hole a little bit last night trying to catch up on some of these music projects that you've been in. I couldn't find a heck of a lot on Circle of Nine, so I don't know much about that.
That's just getting started. That's why. We're in the recording process, and we unfortunately lost our guitar player. So I'm trying to find somebody to fill the slot. So that's kind of on the shelf for now. But during that time, I've recorded my drum tracks for Human the Hoofed Beast.
Yes! I told Cliff the other day, that's the best name ever. I love that name.
I give all the credit to Todd Applegate on that, who is the mastermind behind that project. And it was the first time I've ever had to be sent all of the finished tracks and then lay my tracks to it without anybody else in the room.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I feel like I've conquered a big fear because I'm used to going in playing with the full band, but only my drums are being recorded at the time. Then they go back, get rid of the scratch tracks, and then lay their parts individually. So for me to just go in there, everything's done, and it's like, lights on, go ahead. With nothing to feed off of but my own head and what I'm hearing. So there's no energy. I'm creating all the energy. It's a different experience.
Yeah, that does sound backwards. Like like
Well, when you don't live in the same state, this is actually how it's done for a lot of bigger bands that we don't know about, because they don't all live in the same state. They send each other tracks back and forth. And then when it's time to record like an album, everybody flies in and you do it together. But I didn't have that luxury. So I did it remote.
yeah, that's cool. Okay, let me throw some comments out here. Let's see. Oh, our good friend Kyler Kenny showed up. Hey, how's it going, man? We are doing
Kyler.
well. Yes, sir. We got Defiler of the Clown here.
Oh, Defiler
And-
of the Crown art. Yes.
Yeah. And we've got Shadow Seeker. So nice to see you all. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Thanks for
Let's
joining.
see. My favorite 3 hosts in one stream. Pinch me, I must be dreaming. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, you're too kind. You're too kind. Okay.
Absolutely.
So,
Oh, you guys rock.
number 1 follower. You know, I'm starting to think he might be my number 1 fan. And I'm getting real, like Kathy Bates vibes from Misery here,
Uh-oh.
Anyhow, yeah. And Hoof
Don't break
Beast
down
is
on the
amazing.
side of the road.
Yeah, that's right. As long as I have a tire iron, I'm fine. So
Right.
yeah. So I wanted to go back a little bit further than that.
Sure.
It's like did you used to be from Ohio?
Yes.
Yeah. I caught a whole bunch last night from Black Tar Superstar.
Yes, sir. That was the biggest, most notable act that I've done in my career.
Okay. So, and you were pretty experienced by the time you did that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I came up through the time where there really wasn't Spotify or Apple Music, and having the ability as an underground artist to say, oh, okay, if I pay $20 a year, I can upload all of this stuff and get, recognized all over the world for all different listeners. So it was like right around COVID time in 2020, we had gotten together, I want to say about a month prior to that, after being in several projects with some of the same guys. We finally said, the bass player and the vocalist of Black Tar Superstar had a phenomenal catalog of music for a band that he had never actually turned into a band. He had just recorded all that stuff by himself, did all the parts, electronic drums, the works. And he's like, I think I'd like to make this a real band. And he sent me some of what he's done. And I was like, I'm in. Yeah, let's do it. And I had a guitarist friend with me that was also really into, the doom metal thing, kind of like a marriage between metal and Black Sabbath, type fuzz music. So, because at my age, I'm kind of done doing death metal for the most part. It's very intense and super fast. And my legs want to do it most of the time, but there are moments where it's like, too much. A lot of double bass.
I got you. No, for sure. Yeah. You do seem to be kind of like the king of the blast beat. Yeah. Yeah.
The fact that I can still pull it off is amazing to me. I can't hold it for a 45-minute set. That's the only thing.
At least you live in where there's still a metal scene going on. Like where I am in Brooklyn, absolutely. It's dead. Like
you guys just lost St. Vitus, which is like,
they just. But
I felt so sorry to hear that. What an iconic place.
But like I haven't played in really a lot in the past year. But before that, I play guitar, and I'm a metal dude. I'm a 80s metal guy and Anthrax, Overkill. That's what I was listening to in high school and
Candlemass.
Dude, I was playing fucking Cher, Turn Back Time in cover bands because that's like all there was.
Right.
And it was funny because I'd be playing these pop songs and I would start medaling them up. And they're like, dude, what are you doing? I was like, I can't do it. I was like, I can't not.
It's like that one drummer you saw on YouTube that he's known as the drummer that doesn't belong in the band that he's in. They're a wedding band, and he's like, flipping his sticks around. He's doing tricks behind his. Oh my goodness, I died laughing at all those videos. And it turns out he's a fantastic thrash drummer.
Did you ever hear of that guy, Clint? What I just sent it to Clint the other day. I think his name is Jeffrey Murr, something. But he does old TV sitcoms.
Oh,
I sent Clint. He did The Price is Right. He does like game show tunes, but he's fucking metaling them out. And I'll find it and I'll send you the link. It's hysterical, but he's a great drummer.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. Yep, I love that.
The underground will always be the home for metal. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Which is actually how I got started doing a podcast. Black Tar I did like a string of interview after interview, just all over the place, all over the country, Canada, the UK. And everyone was like covering us. They're like, this is amazing. Cause it was so different from the type of doom metal that was going on previously, because it doesn't have the Candlemass flavor to it. The vocals are a little harsher. Sometimes they call it blackened doom just because they're not like the operatic, style vocals. And I did this one interview for another podcast and got asked, hey, would you like to do a show? Because they thought I was funny, I guess. I'm like, oh, well, I'm a little bit of a comedian. So yeah, sure. Yeah. Why not? And my first thought was, well, what am I going to do? I have no idea at this point. So I kind of like thought to myself, I'm like, you know what? We're going to do something about the underground, and it's going to be anything that encompasses underground art. That's music, horror, DJs, other podcast hosts that have, their own thing going on, anything to help kind of promote each other, in the scene, because otherwise many people probably don't know about it if it doesn't get noticed. So that's where I got the idea for the underground. Reaper himself, that's been my stage name since, probably 2010, playing death metal. I had joined this band called Twisted Asylum, and every member in the band had a specific name. The mask thing was really big between Slipknot and Mushroomhead. So that's what they were into. And I'm like, I'm not doing a mask. I'm a bigger dude who's playing at blinding speeds. I need to breathe, and I don't want to rip off any black metal artists. So I came up with this like whole blood thing and putting like all kinds of like pagan symbols and stuff all over me. So I was like, yeah. And I think I'll call myself Reaper, because every time I get behind the drum set, I'm slaying the crowd. So, and it just stuck. And suddenly I was no longer Steve anymore. Everybody just calls me Reaper. And I'm just like, hey, Reaper. I'm like, hey, I answer to my real name too, but it's okay. I just kind of got accustomed to it. So I already had a name to go under. I just didn't think Steve's Underground would sound good. So, and then my makeup started changing. And actually, it's evolved quite a bit from where I started. I once kind of compared myself to a bath and a raccoon that met each other in a very bad way.
I gotcha.
So
that's nice. Any particular meaning to the symbols that you wear now? Like the one that's in the center of your makeup now?
Somebody has finally asked that question. I always dreamed of somebody asking me. So naturally, people see an upside down cross. Automatically, they're like, "Oh, Satan!" It doesn't actually symbolize that. What it does in the occult, it symbolizes the adversary. So, like, it's my inner self that is darker, and I'm projecting that. So that's why I have that. and then the triangle with the dot in the center. The dot in the center represents the individual and darker creativity, because going along with that adversary concept, normally a triangle is down like that, right?
Right.
So I invert that to show a different meaning.
Very cool.
Nice.
So it's kind of philosophical.
I'm good with it. I figured there had to be some type of thought behind it. I
That's
didn't
'cause
really.
you're a deeper human being. That's awesome.
Well, yeah. Even if I'm not, I like to pretend to be. So,
Hey, you're doing great.
I'm glad that you have meaning to it, and you're not just well. This is the pagan symbol of the day, so.
Oh, you mean like the mainstreamers? That's what I call them.
yeah.
That if you
Yeah.
probably asked them what it meant, they probably would have no idea.
They're like, I don't know. I read it in an Aleister Crowley
I
book somewhere.
Yeah.
They're like, I play pool. This is the rack, and there's one ball in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Now,
That's
the
very
reason
cool.
that I chose the diamonds like over the eyes, a lot of people kind of confuse my persona or character as a clown. I'm actually not a clown. Evolving my character where it was, and when I met my wife, I was like, if I was to try to turn myself into a clown, they would think that I'd be like riding her coattails, and I didn't want to project that. I wanted to stand as an individual, something that made sense myself inside. So I was like, well, what I was doing, which is like the raccoon eyes with the little flippy backs. You've probably seen some of my earlier modeling photos.
Yeah.
Didn't really scream horror to me. So I was like, well, what if I take the diamond shape idea, make two little horns at the top? As you can see, they're kind of bending in.
Yeah.
That way it kind of comes off. And I tried this out on my fans over time. I was like, well, I tried this look today. What do you think? And when somebody told me that's the scariest version, I love it. I was like, that's it. I found it. And I've just been doing it ever since.
That's nice. I like that. Yeah.
Because I wanted to come across not as a black metal musician, because obviously I'm trying to transcend into film. I got my early start acting in some music videos. And they happened to become, the ones that I was in with Black Tar at the time. But I was able to step out from the kit and play a couple of different characters.
Yeah. I think I saw those videos. One was called Serial, and the other one was Cosmic Death Trap.
Close.
No.
Cosmic Devil Trip.
Oh, I read it wrong.
There's a brilliant story behind it too.
I can't even read my own writing. Go for it.
That's okay. I won't take any kudo points away from you.
Fantastic.
So when we were we were rehearsing songs for the upcoming album, The Black Flame, which I pretty much wrote all the lyrics for and did a lot musically with it as well. There was a riff that our lead guitar player, who was known as the Death Slinger, he had this riff. It was very fuzzy, very Black Sabbath. And, we were always kind of not necessarily poking fun at fuzz bands. Like, there's so many of them today. Everyone's trying to be Tony Iommi. And I'm like, look, there's one Tony Iommi. Stop it.
Right.
So I was like, it's so Sabbathy though. So I feel like we're kind of, paying homage a little bit. So I was like, well, you see all these names for some of the songs, and they're stupid. It's like, I took a bunch of acid. That's what we called the song. So I was like, well, I have this kind of concept in my head. Like, I'm a huge fan. Most of my fans know this. I'm a huge fan of 70s horror. With a lot of like the shock films that were underground that didn't make it to the big screen or whatever. So I was like, I have this image in my head of this like 70s disco. And this guy is like blaming God for, everything that's gone wrong in his life. And that he's partying in this thing. There's big disco ball, all that stuff, all the, the crazy translucent lighting, you know, the purple lights and all that stuff. And, you know, he's just partying. He's trying to end it all. And then all of a sudden he wakes up and he's here before what most people would consider to be the devil. And he's been like, he stepped into a portal, got transported to another world. So I was like eating cosmic brownies one night because I didn't have a title for this thing.
Okay.
And I said, wait a minute, I have a devil concept in my head and I'm eating a cosmic brownie. Cosmic devil trip. So we're making fun of like some of these crazy, you know, doom metal song titles.
Right.
And, you know, Rob Zombie, if you see any of his records, they have the craziest titles for the albums.
Yeah.
So I kind of had that in my head too. And that's how that was born. And then I met director Tim Novotny, who is an indie horror filmmaker in Ohio. And I told him about the idea and he said, let's do it. So I was like, all right, cool. And he also ended up really digging a lot of the rest of our songs. Serial was kind of my homage to Dexter. You know, it's about being in the mind of a serial killer as he is preying upon his prey, which is, you know, where all the plastic wrap, you know, blood all over it and all that stuff. That was the concept there. And then of course, Hail to the Succubus.
Yeah. I think
But
I heard
for
that
Cosmic
one.
Devil Trip, he's like, well, we need somebody to play the devil. I said, well, you know what? You know, I've been wanting to act. I mean, it's been a dream since I was a kid watching Hammer horror films, Vincent Price and all those guys. And I'm like, well, I don't think anybody will give me a shot. I'm not super thin. I'm not buff. I'm not the usual guy. I'm 6'2", I'm stocky, and I'm bald. So can we do this? And he's like, you know what? You got to play him. I'm going to slap some horns on you, and you're going to have fun taunting, you know, the actor in the film or the video. So I was like, yay. And people loved it. And I suddenly had this burst of confidence. I'm like, you know what? I might be over 40 a little bit, but it's not too late for me if somebody sees that and says, dude, you were awesome in that. So I was like, okay, you know, and that led me to where I am today as far as indie horror films go. And I don't see myself stopping.
Yeah.
At
That's
least
awesome.
not for a little while.
Yeah. I did want to touch on something else with Black Tar Superstar. Is it true?
Absolutely.
Is it true that Hail to the Succubus was inspired by the movie Porno?
Yes. I don't know how you knew that, but yes.
I love that movie.
Honest to goodness, I was a Netflix junkie for a while, especially during the pandemic when we were locked down. So that's how I found the movie Terrifier.
Oh, okay.
Never knew anything about the Terrifier, and it was on Netflix, and I gave it a shot. I said, ooh, usually the clown thing is not my thing, but in this case, art is terrifying. So I want to watch that. Yeah. Well, then I found out about Shudder, and I was like, ooh, Shudder for $4.99 a month. Let's do it. And so I started seeing that they kind of make their own films, and well, Porno shows up, and of course I'm like, this might be a throwback to the 80s a little bit, maybe the early 90s. So let's see what this is all about. And of course, as you know, it's set in like 94 or 93, something like that. And it's these kids in a movie theater, and they get to, like, for their big thank you for doing a good job, they get to watch this, you know, whatever movie they want to put on the big screen. And they end up finding this thing. And I just remember kind of like reading through saying that, you know, these teens are in a movie theater and they find this ominous film that, you know, nobody knows what the hell it is. And suddenly, you know, a succubus shows up. I was like, oh, you sold me. Okay, let's watch it. That damn movie. I've probably watched it 10, 12 times by now.
Yeah.
But as I was watching it, because at the time when we were doing our first EP, Old Gods Awaken, we had a jam song that we had played live 2 or 3 times, no vocals, and nobody could come up with an idea of what to write about. This is kind of how I started becoming the lyricist for most of the Black Tar songs, because I've done it previously. I did it for other bands I've been in over the years, and I was just so taken aback. I'm like, somebody did their damn homework on this film, Succubus, Lilith, The Ritual. I'm like, somebody was reading or watching, something on YouTube about a cult. And I'm like, this is great. That like everything was right. And it's so like hilarious too. And I love my comedy horror. So I was like, that's it. Hail to the Succubus. The idea of this beautiful woman. I mean, well, obviously she's nude, just walking around and the pit of everyone's desire. And at the end, she consumes you and she eats you and kills you. Yeah. So I was like, I said to the guys, I got a really good idea for a woman's empowerment song. And they all looked at me like I was absolutely insane. I said, no, read this. And it's literally about a guy who is, tra-la-la-la-la, going through the forest. And he sees this beautiful, gorgeous woman dancing around a huge bonfire. And she's just reeling him in. And by the time he's in her embrace, he's done for. And again, I told director Tim Novotny about the idea, and he said, oh my goodness, I really want to make this. And then that's when that video happened. So
Novotny, that's a name you don't hear very much.
For sure.
Yeah. I think I've met one person in my life with that name. It's that rare.
It must be. It's Italian, as I understand.
Yeah. You got me. Person I met, I think they had I think they had a heavy Polish background also, so it could go anyway. Anyhow, it doesn't matter.
I'm Clint's only Italian friend.
That's right. I'm only allowed to have so many.
That's it. I won't permit any more.
Well, I'm German, so I don't know if I'm your only German friend, but hey, if so, awesome.
Sweet. I'll take it. Not that it means anything, but favorite song from the Black Tar era, Land of Blind.
Oh my goodness. That is a toughie. I would have to say Hail to the Succubus by far was my favorite song, because it's when I switched out of death metal and coming into doom metal, which I always wanted to do. That's when I was 9 years old. I heard Black Sabbath for the first time and said, that's what I want to do for a living. I want to be a drummer, because Bill Ward was so versatile as a drummer, not just a metal drummer. He was a jazz drummer and a blues drummer. So the beat that I chose for that was a double kick version of what he played in Children of the Grave. So I kind of felt like I had arrived and paid homage to one of my heroes that way. And the fact that that single blew up overnight and catapulted us into international success, I was like, that'll always stick with me.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, since you bring it up, I mean, people have several influences whenever they engage in any type of art. Are there like a handful that like come to mind when you think of who influenced you to pick up the stick?
Absolutely. Do you mean as drummers or like bands? Period.
Well, you could do both if you want. I mean,
okay.
I'm cool with that.
I mean, when I think of my top influences as a drummer, Buddy Rich is the first one. The man was inhuman. He was superhuman as a drummer. Lightning speed. He was a technician. He was always on. The man suffered a heart attack while he was playing and finished the song. To me, he was just that damn good. That's why they call him one of a kind.
Yeah.
Let's see. Other drummers, definitely Neil Peart.
Gotcha.
Probably, in my opinion, the I don't know, godfather of prog rock drumming. Phil Collins, another one.
Oh, nice.
And I feel like, you know, to a lot of people in today's world, they don't realize just how much of a badass that guy was before he started singing. And as I understand, he could always sing, but before he became a frontman, he was just an amazing drummer. Let's see, who else? Mickey D. I discovered Mickey D when he was playing with King Diamond, when King Diamond went solo from Merciful Fate. So I loved not just kind of the flare and flash that he would do, but his fills were tasty. His drumming was just spot on as far as metal. Very driving. Dave Lombardo. How could you not? Right. He single-handedly put, you know, thrash on the map in my book. Just an amazing drummer. Tommy Aldridge. From his work with Ozzy in the early days. The list goes on and on.
Oh, for
my
sure.
favorite bands, you know, I mean, I started kind of like throughout my career having new heroes, which was really kind of fun. When I first discovered, let's say, Cradle of Filth, Nicholas Barker. He was the only guy in the band. He was a 400-pound bald man, heavily tattooed, and could play at the speed of light. Wow. And that was just, I don't know. He really stuck out to me. Like, you see, just because we're big doesn't mean we can't play.
For sure.
You know? And he played for so many great black metal acts. So the drummer for Cannibal Corpse.
Oh, cool.
You know, one of the early purveyors of the skank beat and the early blast.
Nice.
So, yep.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I was going somewhere. Now I'm trying to remember where it was. This happens. This happens sometimes. Yeah. 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 Well, we could shift gears, I guess.
Before we do, are you a fan of Randy Castillo?
Oh man, you must have read my mind. He was by
my
far
favorite drummer.
My favorite drummer as far as the Ozzy era. Everything he did was power. And I really kind of felt like he elevated the music. Like his work on No Rest for the Wicked, 1988. Hands down, some of the best good metal drumming, just good metal drumming all the way through. No matter if it was up-tempo, backbeat, slow. You know, Ozzy's famous for, you know, ballads on every record. Everything he played was just gold. I loved it. The Ultimate Sin era. Holy crap.
I mean, and that's my I like, and I was a big concert guy when I was younger, and I went to and maybe like not to take anything away from Tommy Aldridge because I'm a big Ozzy fan. I'm a Randy Rhoads nut job.
Oh, absolutely.
But the time of me going to see concerts, it was always Randy Castillo. So, and out of all, I mean, my favorite band is Kiss, but I mean, Maiden, Priest. Like I've seen so many, but when he did his drum solos, he was just, like I said, he was on another level.
Absolutely. I was really happy when I got to see him on the No More Tours.
I was there.
Because, you know, Ozzy was retiring 50 times.
Right.
Right? Yeah, I remember that.
So getting to see him play live, it was magic. It was great because before that, everything was on VHS tape or MTV. So before, you know, YouTube got real big and suddenly everybody had the videos.
Yeah, that was always funny. Ozzy saying he's going to retire all the time. You know, the final tour. The no, wait, we're serious this time. The you know what I mean?
Aaron said it's okay this time.
Yeah. And I remember what I was going to say from a little while ago. I caught earlier, I think, post on your Facebook page that you're going to see Twin Temple in concert at some point soon.
Yes.
Yeah. I wasn't even trying to see him, but I managed to see him a couple of years ago.
Did you?
Yeah, in Hershey, Pennsylvania, they opened for Volbeat and
Yep.
Ghost.
Yep.
So yeah, I got
That was
to
a
see 'em
tour I wish I could have saw. So I'm
Yeah.
jealous.
Yeah, they were pretty cool, so I don't think you're going to be disappointed. And it's one of those bands where, like, I would almost say it's a better experience live.
I think I can definitely agree with that.
Yeah,
I mean, I do enjoy listening to them. Like in my shop, I have them on my playlist, and I have my favorites.
yeah,
I don't know if I could like go through one entire album and play it front to back.
yeah,
It's kind of hit or miss for me, but you know, it kind of brings me back because I'm a very, very eclectic music lover. I love all types except for certain things, which all my fans
yeah,
definitely know what I don't like.
yeah,
But I can remember being just a kid in the back seat of my dad's car, and he's listening to Elvis Presley, the Shondells, you know, all the great '50s groups that did some of that, you know, group singing, doo wop, and I'm
yeah.
like, so this is satanic doo wop. Well, that's right up my damn alley.
Yeah,
So I gave it a shot and I fell in love with it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like I listened to one song before I went because I was like, I need to be kind of familiar with who they are, and but like it was a completely different experience to hear them play. And they had this saxophone player that was like so over the top. I mean, and that's what nailed it for me. I was like, oh, I love these guys. They're great. Um, and honestly, Volbeat was probably the one that I enjoyed the least. And it's not because they were bad. It's because that dude sings in a register that is so shrill, like through like the equipment.
Yeah.
It drilled a hole through my head, man. I had
Ooh.
to I had to, I was thankful I had earplugs in my pocket. I stuck them in because I was getting a headache. Yeah. But
They are an acquired taste, I will say that. Most people were like, why is Volbeat even on this tour? You know, it didn't really match what was going on.
right, right. Agreed. But it was still cool to see them. I was super
Oh,
happy
sure.
to check them out. Let's see. There's a comment on here, and I'm not even. Oh, just wanted to see who it was. Let's see what do we got here. Man, we've had so many cool guests. I fanboy out a lot. Oh, well, thank you so much. It's so weird. I have no questions to ask because I know you guys too well. All right. Let's see. Defiler said Randy's into on Crazy Babies is amazing. Intro, I
Oh, the
guess.
intro. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And Chris comes to us and says saxophone is the key of good rock and roll. Hey, you know what? I kind of agree. I
If
think
it's done right,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And I tell you, it really added an element that I didn't think was possible when I saw them live. So I mean, yeah, I think you're in for a treat. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Good
yeah.
to know. Because
Mhm.
that's kind of what I was worried about. Every time you see any pictures of them, it's always just the guitarist, her husband, and
Mhm.
her.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, they gotta have a whole band. There has to be a backup band.
Yeah.
So hopefully they're achieving this live and not using backtracks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
No,
was
for
worried.
sure. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, so I don't know what their set's going to be like because they only played like a handful of songs because they were an opening act. So
Right.
yeah, so they had a really short set. But I mean, I could have stood a few more from them. So
Awesome.
hopefully you'll get the full treatment.
I'm
Yeah.
hoping.
Yeah. Yeah. I did see a little blurb on your page that you might be a retired music teacher.
That is correct. I
Is that
worked 24 years as a music educator.
Wow.
It's awesome.
The last 5 of my year, the last 5 years of my career, I was teaching steel drum band.
Really?
Yep. It was one of my favorite percussive instruments since I was in college. I did a residency with the steel drum band back in Kent State when I was going to Kent State. So when the opportunity popped up that they're trying this particular school, which I won't name because, anyway,
Right.
was looking for somebody that could direct a steel drum band, and really kind of do something with it, something different than what they had previously, because they were when they talked to me originally, they were like, oh yeah, they went and did, this benefit show in the city, this benefit show. And these are all kids that are disabled, whether it's learning disabilities, ADHD, autism, you name it. But it's a way for them to be creative because it's an instrument that literally, if you have no music ability whatsoever, you can learn to play this. And it's true. I always felt that way. And since I always preferred to work with those types of students, nothing against general ed students, but they're just so much more fun. They're more interested. It's great to watch them light up when they play their favorite song. So when I came in, I was like, so what kind of music do you guys listen to? What are some of your favorite songs? And I ended up finding, some of the like pop tunes and whatnot. Some stuff actually came from the 80s too, which I was like, oh man, they love 80s. Well, that was my era,
Uh-huh.
So I found some piano transcriptions and I would transcribe them out into 4 voices. So you have your lead pan, which is your voice. That's the vocalist. Okay. Then you have the support, which is kind of like your backup singers. They're called, man, it's been so long. Double tenors is what they call it. And then you have the guitars that are behind that, which is just 2 pans that do chording. So I look at a steel drum band as like an actual rock band or a pop band. It's all in the voicing. And then you have big, full size oil drums, 6 of them to do all the bass work. And everything's done by mallet. So it was pretty easy. You look at a piano transcription, you can actually transcribe it for every voice in a steel drum band. So, yep, that was my favorite.
Yeah, as long as you know where the notes are on the steel drum, I guess you can just match them up.
And they are written in there, so they were easy to find.
Awesome. That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that, because it sounds to me like you impacted a lot of people's lives. I'm sure there's many kids out there with fond memories of that time.
Absolutely. I mean, I still have them too. I mean, I wasn't always, the demon king that I am now.
Yeah, that was your double life.
Right. Well, that's kind of the funny part about it is I always moonlighted as a death metal drummer throughout my entire career, and no one knew it. So I always kind of preferred it to be that way.
That's fantastic. I love that. All right.
Well, I got to a point where I was like, if I don't retire now and take a shot at doing the podcasting, doing the acting, and kind of make, performing more of a ways, of income, I'm never going to do it. If I'm that, 64, 65-year-old guy, if I try to do this, then it ain't going to work. Yeah. So I took the plunge.
You had to find the time. You got to find the time for yourself, for sure. So, and these are my sentiments exactly. Music education is sadly underfunded and appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, because my job was always the first one eliminated.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear.
In the art teachers.
So, I did want to touch on some of your podcast shows. Like sure. Reaper's Underground is a pretty cool show. It looks like you get a wide variety of guests. I mean, you get like people from the film industry, from the music industry. I think I even saw you interview somebody from the Church of Satan. Yes, I mean, the Ari Lehman interview was pretty cool, actually. That was
a blast. He was high as fuck.
No, say it ain't so. Did he get his keytar out at any point?
I asked him, but no, he would not get it out.
Darn
We
it.
talked about it a lot, though.
Yeah. Do you have any like fun guests on there that really stand out in your memory as ones where you're like, man, I can't believe I got that guy. That was really cool.
Erie Vaughn and John Christ of the original Danzig.
Really?
The original
Nice.
guitarist and the original bass player, the guys that did the first 4 records.
Wow.
So, and as you know, those first 4 records were the biggest hits that band ever had. And, Mother, Twist of Cain, Devil's Plaything, those were just iconic records. And I don't know, I started seeing them come out of the woodwork, and I was like, well, here's what's going to happen. They're either going to say yes, or they're going to say no, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I took the plunge, and they were like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But I have this, and this going on. So sometimes the scheduling was a little tough. And the Erie Vaughn one was so much fun because he's so behind the times, he had to do it by cell phone. So, and I'm like, well, I use StreamYard and I have live commenters that, like to watch and all that stuff. He's like, however you got to do it, this is what I got. This is how you're going to do it. In his New Jersey accent, And I'm like, all right, I figured it out. So I did a test run, obviously with nobody else. And I had my wife come into StreamYard so she could tell me whether or not she could hear it. I used a cell phone. So we did a phone interview. I held the cell phone up to the microphone of my laptop, and that's how we did the interview.
Wow.
I was like, I'm not missing this for the world, because this is somebody I grew up, idolizing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No,
That's awesome. I love John Christ too. I'm a big Danzig fan. I have the skull on my back tattooed on me. But Erie Vaughn is a character. I've seen I've seen a few interviews with him, and he's great, man.
It's crazy because when he was young, he hated doing interviews. He never really wanted to talk. But man, he sang like a canary. He gave us so much insight to that time. Now that, he's like in his 50s.
Yeah.
He's like, shit, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. I was like, holy shit. Even reading his book, I didn't know half the stuff, the stories that he told us, that I was just like, oh man, this is like super awesome. Shoot. Yeah. David Howard Thornton, the actor for Art the Clown. Yeah. Amazing. Bill Oberst Jr. Oh my goodness, I can't speak tonight. Bill Oberst Jr., who played Papa Corn in Circus of the Dead. I've so many different actors and actresses from a lot of, mostly indie film. So I'm trying to think. Oh, Gene Hoglan of Death Clock.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up with him in Dark Angels. So, he played for Testament. He played for Death. He played for pretty much every major metal band there ever was. So that was killer.
Very Testament's another one of my favorite bands.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And love Alex Skolnick lives somewhere in Brooklyn. I'm determined to find him and run into him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't get to talk to other interviewers very much, so I just kind of like to ask some random stuff. Like, sure. Was there anybody that you were worried about talking to who ended up being more fun than you expected them to be?
Well,
that's a tough one.
Yeah, let me think about that for a second. Well, I would have to say it was a female guest.
Okay.
That I wasn't sure how it was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm obviously not going to mention the name or anything like that. Not that she's watching, but just for the sake of saying. But I would listen to her podcast, and she's from Louisiana, so she has that kind of like that Southern sassiness.
Yeah. And
I wasn't sure how that was going to go because she hadn't done any interviews. So sometimes people who do podcasts don't do interviews well. Yeah. And she was so funny and so personable. Because she does a horror, she used to do a horror podcast. I don't think she does it anymore, but yeah, that one really kind of turned around for me and surprised me in a lot of ways that here and there made me uncomfortable. But other than that, it ended up being a good interview.
That's
made
great.
a lot of people talk.
Well, for sure. Those are the good ones for sure. People are talking
Right.
about it. Yeah. So, but anyhow, I didn't want to ignore, the direction it seems that you're currently going, and that is like to get into acting in films and things like that. And I did want to mention that I recently got to see and your lovely wife in Attack of the Corn Zombies.
Yes.
Which is available on YouTube for anybody who has not seen that and would like to go check it out. Won't cost you a thing. Just queue it up and watch it, and you'll get to see these folks killing random townspeople. I
call them the survivors. You get to see me try to, I'm eating somebody.
Yeah. There's something about Acrostar films. I like a lot of Steve's ideas or ideas that are brought to him, and he helps develop them however that transpires some of the time. And this one was just funny in the sense that it was the corn got treated with some type of spray. I don't know if it was a fertilizer or what. And then whenever people ended up eating it after the fact, they became zombies. And the only ones who were left were the ones who just didn't eat the corn. So
exactly. I thought it was super imaginative.
Yeah.
And the fact that he stuck it back into 1969, I thought was a great homage to like Night of the Living Dead. So for that being my first film, because I had been doing the modeling thing, I've been on a few, covers of magazines, and I'm like, it's time for me to take that step. Let me show what I can do. I mean, I remember every Bruce Campbell line, every Captain Spaulding line, anything that, Sid Haig had done, and Bill Moseley and those guys, Robert Englund. So it's like, I know I can bring a nightmare, even if I'm not saying anything. I've seen every damn zombie film ever made, pretty much. Even the one where the zombie was fighting the shark at the bottom of the ocean, if anyone remembers that one.
Yeah, it's great.
I remember Zombie, yeah.
So I was like, I just happened to join the group out of nowhere because it came up in my Facebook feed, and I was like, I just got this feeling. I'm like, I'm liking what I'm seeing. They were talking about the films that they had done, up to that point. And I'm like, this could be my way in, because they have a weekly post that says, we're always looking for new talent. And I'm like, well, it doesn't get newer than me because I've never been in a film. So, they said, we're looking for extras to be zombies. I said, I can play the shit out of that with my eyes closed. Now, whether or not everybody else got that feeling when they see the film, it's always up to your judgment. But I felt very comfortable doing that. I've used to having makeup on 3-4 nights a week after work. So not a stretch for me. Yeah. And SJ and Ann are just a dream to work with. Everybody that worked on that production, they did the little zombie class, teach you how to like walk like one. And they were always about your comfort level. I was just like, it was so funny because when it came to we're gonna put some blood on you guys now. And the blood girl comes down to me and flick, 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 flick. I'm like, baste me like a turkey. So she takes a big old glob, because I'm like, I don't have no hair, so I don't give two shits about my hair. Just cakes it on the top of my head and it starts running down. Oh, it looked so good. I was like, now we're cooking with cooking oil. So, but it was so much fun. Especially when we went to Subway for dinner, in makeup because we had a you know a break, and there's photos of it somewhere.
Yeah.
But I mean that it was just a kind of a dream come true. I didn't think my first role would be that way, plus be with my wife, because originally I thought I found this thing on my own. You know, I was like, "Here's my big step." She's like, "Oh, I'm in it too." I was like,
Ah,
"Well, all right, let's make it a party." You know, what the hell?
sounds awesome. And it sounds to me like you're right. You did get your foot in the door, because are you getting invited back for the follow-up Return of the Corn
Indeed.
Zombies?
Yes, and I was it was so funny because after we shot, I went to SJ and I said, "You realize you have a hit on your hands." I just knew it. Everything from the story, all of the like little clips here and there that were raw, to the scenes that you know I was in as well. I'm like, dude, this is gonna blow up, and that's what I see, you know. So I said, you really should think about doing a part 2. And then all of a sudden he puts it up there, you know, after doing the sorority babes thing and disremembered and stuff like that. He's like, so, you know, it was like a post like, so I think they're coming back. And then all of a sudden there's this picture that says Return of the Corn Zombies. And I was like, I think I'm manifesting this in some way. And then, you know, finally he says filming in the fall. And I said, yes. And I was like, I'm in. I didn't die. They didn't knock me out. So I can come back.
That's right. You could
well,
be
course, you know, you got to get ass back, but still, I was hopeful.
Yeah. Definitely you can live to consume human flesh again.
Absolutely.
So
and then I picked up Grinners. I went ahead and did an audition for Refinery Films, and I auditioned for a couple things because I am, you know, trying to do like a speaking role at some point.
Right.
So, but what they ended up offering me a gig, and I was like, I like this. I'm supposed to be a faceless cop captain. So that should be interesting because they really love my stature. They love the way I carry myself. I guess I can be kind of a badass. I can be intimidating. And I'm like, well, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of cops, but I think I could play one. I've seen enough in films.
Yeah. Especially if it's a bad cop, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm supposed to be nightmarish because we're doing some kind of like mask. And that was kind of also a really cool thing that drew me to that because I'm like, I want to do creature features. So if I can get used to working with a mask on, you know, it's one thing to work in, let's say, the haunt industry. It's another to do it on set. And you have to act and it's being filmed and all that stuff and the hot lights, you know, depending upon where it's shot or if you're out in, I don't know, 120-degree weather.
Yeah.
You just never know.
I was surprised to see a different film company on that because I saw Magdalena Conway's name attached to it, and she normally works with Acrostar. So I guess this is something different. Is that part of how you got in there, or just you just heard about it?
Honestly, I heard about it, and I always kind of like look through the roles that they're looking for.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, I can pass for 35 pretty well, which is good.
Good for you.
But for, you know, obviously a guy my age, I'm looking for roles that they're okay with me being the age that I am.
Right.
I mean, I'm still practically an adult child, so I can do and be animated and do just about anything, you know, if you give me a shot. Yeah. So I saw it and I was like, well, I see two that I think would work. One role I think was like for the dad, and then there was that one. So, and I was like, well, shit, it's a toss up. Whichever one they tell, if they give me the green light, I'm in, you know? So that's kind of how it happens.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, that's great. So anything else that you're scheduled to do, or you're just or you're going after and you're really excited about?
With those two films, I am actively looking for more, of course.
Mhm.
Finishing up the Human the Hoof Beast album, we hope to have it out this summer. And he's been talking about moving up here. So the idea of maybe actually getting to tour is definitely a possibility if he does move up here, because it'll make life so much easier to tour the Midwest. Let's see, what else do I got going on? Well,
I saw that people might be able to vote for you for Circus of the Dead too.
That's what I was forgetting. These contests are always interesting.
Sure.
Because I did the one for Kane Hodder before.
Faces of Horror. Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, and you pretty much have to put it out to eat. They say, ask your family members, your friends, all that stuff. Well, in my position, I put it out to my fans. Mm-hmm. Do you want to see one of Papa Corn's guys take me out? And I'm like, to be in a film with Bill Oberst Jr., you can kill me however you want to. I will definitely, whatever. You want me to, stick a lathe into my ear. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Let's get creative here.
Sure.
I'll be the best death you got. So I was like, all right, I'll throw my hat in the ring. Let's see. And as always, I leave it up to the fans, Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm still there. I'm still in the running. So
that's cool.
I'm going to keep trying. Always on the hunt. I'm adding new directors all the time, directors that I've interviewed. I always kind of just like check in with them. Hey, you got a project going on? Or I see it on their Facebook. And if it seems like something I can do, I'm open. I'm also doing the Villain Arts Tattoo conventions throughout the year also to help not only promote Reaper's Underground, but the movies that I'm doing, whether it's out or it's about to be out. So making appearances and stuff like that. So there's a lot of that coming up. I'll be in Chicago next month for that and certain months throughout the year, because filming, everything kind of goes around that. So we can't do them all, even though that would be awesome.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I was going to do New Orleans. I was like, hell yeah. I haven't been to New Orleans since I played there back in the day. So I was like, that would be great. I can't do it now because Return of the Corn Zombies is filming the same weekend. So I'm like, all right, I'll go visit, the Voodoo Priestess later.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I was going to ask if you were going to be doing conventions. I know that Kelsey was talking about going to Grossfest Pittsburgh in August. Didn't know if you were going to end up there.
I mean, I would love to, but she was asked to be there. That's a lot different than per se buying a vendor table.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've been trying to do, because I've heard a lot from some of my fans that they would love for me to show up at this horror con, that horror con. So when I teamed up with Morgrot Entertainment, John Sorrell is the head of that. He does the Morgrot magazine, Morgrot Records. And I was like, you know what? If we merged together, because the only thing you're missing is podcast shows. Mine's doing pretty good. Yeah, what do you think? We can promote everything all in one spot.
Yeah.
So we've looked at a couple of horror cons that we're planning on doing as vendors.
Right.
But I've also put it out, into the universe that, hey, if you want me to show up at one of these cons, you want to hang out, you want me to sign some stuff, have some laughs, have some bourbon, I don't care. But you got to request me. Because I think a lot of times some of these organizers, if they can't get larger than life people, in this case, especially any of these indie cons that are starting to pop up, that I'm just kind of like, oh, cool. This would be like perfect.
Yeah.
request me. I would love to come down. It'd be awesome. Shit, even if I was just press,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd cover it for the underground.
Yeah. Yeah. Mike and I
I
are
come
planning on.
cheap, but I deliver big.
Yeah. 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 Oh, look at this. Kyler already voted.
Oh, thank you, brother. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
there you go. Yeah. Yeah. Mike and I are planning on checking out Gross Fest.
Nice.
Jen Engel said she was going to go, and then I found out Kelsey was going to go. And then I looked at the lineup, and I was like, "Holy shit! There's some
Yeah, it's
people I've
pretty
talked
good.
to here. There's some people I'd like to meet." So, whether we get to do any or strike any interviews while we're there, or get some good footage or not, I think it's still going to be a great time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Heck
Oh,
yeah.
all right,
Wealth
man.
of talent.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So many cool things happening, and it's like I just love a movie that is made with passion. It does not have to have a budget. I give movies so much leeway if it's a neat idea and it's original and they went the practical effects path. You know what I mean? I mean,
Exactly. Joe Castro comes to mind. Terror Tunes.
yeah,
I mean, what
Terror
he
Tunes.
did on such a small budget with all his practical effects, I was like, this just makes it all worth it, man. It looks so real. It's not CG, and you can tell they really cared about making it.
yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to be a big screen film to catch my attention, which is
Yeah.
why, when I'm bringing in different guests of different films, I'm like, these are films I believe in. That's why. And I feel like everyone should know about it.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, I have some of my favorites as well, and of course, and you get to know some of these filmmakers if you contribute to a campaign or something like that, and you're following them along their journey. It's like you almost feel like you're part of it.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
So-
like, if I can get a DVD or a T-shirt, sometimes the special thanks is, I mean, that's enough for me. I don't have to have anything physical, really. Just that, thanks for believing in what we're doing. That just makes it all the better for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Gotta
Yeah,
love those perks.
yeah, that's my favorite part about it. That's the big payoff. You know what I mean? Got to experience the journey, then I got to see the movie, and then I got a perk. It's an incredible thing.
Absolutely.
So I'd love to give you a chance to plug anything we haven't talked about, or if you want to just tell everybody where to find you on social media, and how to keep up with what you're doing. That would be wonderful. I'd love to hear it.
Absolutely. You can find me pretty easy. Reaper's Underground is everywhere. That Facebook page is the best place to go. Don't be afraid to hit me up on Messenger. It's not one of those business accounts where everything is monitored and yada, yada, yada. If you want to say, hey, I love what you're doing, please do. Follow me. You can follow me there, Reaper's Underground on Instagram, Reaper's Underground Productions on Instagram, Black Flame Entertainment on Instagram, Morgrot Entertainment and Black Flame Entertainment on Facebook. And if you want to be my friend, I'm not against bringing you on. Steve Livengood on Facebook as well.
Yes, sir.
I make it easy. I'm everywhere. I don't know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, brother, it was amazing to have you on here. I thank you so much for reaching
Thank
out
you.
and expressing interest and talking to us. It was a blast. Maybe one day I'll get to meet you in person. That would be super cool.
That'd be amazeballs.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, Mike, you got anything left that you want to say?
Like I said, if you do make it to Gross Fest, we'll do some shots. We'll talk metal.
I'm in.
That's right.
I hope to see you soon. Maybe we'll see you, if not there, somewhere else. But
Absolutely.
coming on. You were great.
I feel like we're all one big underground family, and everybody, plays an intricate part in keeping this thing alive, whether it's horror films or music or sideshow talent, tattoo talent, you name it.
Right? Yeah, for sure.
Thank you
Yeah.
guys for the opportunity. I appreciate that. It's actually so much fun for me to be on the other side.
Yeah, it is
you know,
nice
for
from time
once.
to time. Yeah.
And of course, feel free to share anything you want in the group. If you want to
Yeah.
promote or plug anything,
Yep.
please do.
Yep.
Excellent to know, because I
our-
don't want to spam and then somebody go, don't do
Not
that.
at all.
Yeah, no. Our platform is open to you. So I mean, feel free. Anything you got going on, or something that you think would interest the rest of our members. I mean, feel free to share that with us. So again, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yep. I wish you the best with your movies and your continued success with your podcasts. And I just want to say on behalf of myself, on behalf of Mike, and of course Reaper, remember.
Smile, you son of a...